The narcissist never feels remorse the way you imagine. They feel panic, fear, and the threat of exposure. If you could hear their inner voice after betraying you, you'd realize their world collapses, not with guilt, but with self-preservation panic. Imagine for a moment the instant right after a narcissist has betrayed you. Most people assume that in that split second, the person who hurt them feels regret or guilt, some kind of moral tug that tells them they've done wrong. But with a narcissist, it doesn't work that way. Their mind doesn't automatically process actions in terms of right or wrong. It processes them in terms of risk, control, and self-preservation. The very moment they've crossed a line, their dominant emotion isn't shame or remorse, it's panic. It's the sudden, sharp realization that something about the situation could expose them or unravel the carefully constructed image they've built. That panic is quiet, almost invisible to anyone looking from the outside, but inside it spins through their thoughts like a storm. They are asking themselves questions at lightning speed. Did they notice? Could anyone else notice? How do I fix this? How do I control the narrative? The narcissist doesn't stop to think about the emotional damage they've caused because their focus is on themselves and the consequences to their own identity. They are hyper aware of how they appear to you and to the world, and any perceived threat to that appearance ignites fear. Their so-called apologies or explanations aren't born from genuine remorse. They are strategic moves designed to calm the panic, to regain control, and to prevent exposure. And while you might expect a pause or a moment of reflection, what you see is often smooth, charming, even calm behavior because the inner panic is masked. That's the hidden truth. Their betrayal is followed not by guilt, but by a silent, scrambling fear of being caught or revealed. Understanding this is critical because it flips the narrative. You realize their actions are driven by self-interest, not morality, and their panic is your proof that your boundaries and awareness matter. In other words, the very moment they betray, they are already fearing the consequences, not because of what they've done to you, but because of what it could mean for them. If you could hear the narcissist's inner voice after betraying you, what you'd hear wouldn't be remorse. It would be a frantic, calculating mind working overtime to protect itself. While most people imagine guilt as a sinking feeling of shame or sorrow, the narcissist experiences something entirely different. Their first thought isn't about the pain they caused you. It's about the danger they now face. They are immediately scanning for exposure, imagining all the ways their deception could be discovered and all the consequences that could follow. Every reaction you show, every sign of hurt becomes data for them to analyze. Did they notice? Did anyone else notice? How do I manipulate the story so I stay untouchable? This internal monologue is rapid fire, almost like a mental chess game, where your emotions are just pieces on the board. The narcissist evaluates them not as human feelings to respect or empathize with, but as information to process strategically. That's why their outward expressions, calm, charming, or even apologetic, can feel so hollow. It isn't about you at all. It's about them. Their mind is busy with self-preservation, spinning rationalizations and excuses to quiet the fear rising inside. You may see confidence, but inside it's chaos masked by performance. They fear exposure more than anything, more than moral consequence, more than guilt, because their identity is built on control, manipulation, and perception. If you understand this, you begin to see the truth. Their panic is a reflection of your power, not their conscience. Your clarity, your boundaries, your refusal to play into their manipulation, they threaten them because it's a world they cannot dominate. Hearing that inner panic would reveal an unsettling reality. The narcissist never truly regrets you being hurt. They regret losing control. And that insight is not just understanding, it's freedom. Because once you see their fear for what it really is, you stop giving them the emotional fuel they crave, leaving them to scramble in the dark while you remain grounded, calm, and untouchable. The narcissist's inner voice after betraying you is not filled with empathy or sorrow. It is filled with insecurity, calculation, and quiet terror. They are not thinking about what they've done to you in human terms. They are thinking about themselves, their image, and the potential consequences. That tiny hidden voice trembles with the awareness that they've taken a risk. And risks are dangerous to someone whose identity depends entirely on control and perception. Every glance, every word, every reaction you give is being processed like data points in a high-stakes game. They are constantly asking themselves, what did they notice? Did anyone else notice? How do I cover this? How do I spin this so I'm still untouchable? They live inside a world where appearances are reality, so any crack in their facade feels like imminent danger. That's why the narcissist's panic is so intense. It is not moral panic, but existential panic about maintaining their constructed self. Their inner voice may sound cold, calculating, even ruthless because it is entirely self-focused. There is no room for empathy because empathy is vulnerability, and vulnerability threatens the very core of their identity. And yet, on the outside, they often appear calm, collected, even charming, masking the storm raging within. Understanding this hidden fear is crucial because it reveals that their behavior is predictable, governed by self-interest and fear of exposure, not genuine feeling. Your emotions, your clarity, your boundaries, they are the triggers of this panic, proof that their control is slipping. If you could truly hear what they feel, you would see that the chaos is theirs alone and the betrayal was never about you. It was about them. Their hidden terror becomes your insight. The more detached, grounded, and silent you remain, the more you force them to confront the fear they cannot resolve. And in doing so, you reclaim your power. The moment the narcissist's mask cracks, everything inside them shifts. That confident, charming exterior you see is just a performance, a carefully maintained illusion. Inside, their mind races with rationalizations, excuses, and frantic calculations. They are constantly constructing stories, justifying their actions, and imagining how to spin the narrative so that they remain untouchable. Every betrayal, every lie, every manipulation is immediately followed by a mental scramble. How do I make this look acceptable? How do I avoid being exposed? How do I regain control? They don't stop to feel remorse because remorse requires introspection and vulnerability, two things they avoid at all costs. Instead, their inner world is consumed by strategies, contingencies, and mental gymnastics designed to protect their ego and maintain the illusion of perfection. And while they may outwardly appear unbothered, confident, or even apologetic, underneath the surface is chaos. Their thoughts are relentless, spinning, analyzing every word and action, measuring the smallest risk of exposure. This constant mental calculation explains why they can betray someone they claim to care about without a flicker of true guilt. The betrayal isn't about you. It's about preserving their narrative. The narcissist's mind never stops assessing damage, predicting reactions, and finding ways to manipulate perception. Your awareness, your reactions, your boundaries, they all matter to them because they influence this internal calculation. And that is why silence and clarity are so powerful. When you refuse to feed their drama or react predictably, it disrupts the mental control they crave. The crack in their mask exposes the truth. Their fear of exposure, not morality, drives their behavior. Understanding this gives you leverage. You see that the betrayal wasn't a reflection of your value, but a reflection of their instability, their panic, and their obsession with control. And once you recognize that, the mask no longer frightens you. It becomes proof that their fear, not your pain, is the reality. The narcissist approaches emotions like a mathematician approaches numbers. Everything is data, everything is a calculation. When they betray you, your reaction is not met with empathy or understanding. It is processed, measured, and analyzed. Your anger, your sadness, your disappointment, every tear and every word is cataloged and used to assess risk and opportunity. They are constantly asking themselves questions. How does this affect my image? How can I regain control? How much can I manipulate before they see the truth? Your feelings are not acknowledged as real human experiences. They are tools, indicators, pieces of a puzzle the narcissist is trying to solve in order to maintain dominance. This is why their apologies feel hollow and rehearsed. They are not about repairing harm, they are about controlling perception. They may mirror your emotions or act as if they care, but inside, their mind is a chessboard. Every move you make, every emotional signal you give, is analyzed for leverage, strategy, and self-preservation. They calculate, project, and rationalize to protect their fragile identity, which depends entirely on appearing competent, charming, and untouchable. Your pain does not trigger genuine remorse, it triggers calculation. The narcissist is terrified of losing control over the narrative they've created, and that fear dominates their inner world. Recognizing this flips the entire story. It reveals that the power lies not with their manipulation, but with your awareness. The very act of observing, setting boundaries, and maintaining calm forces them to react to your clarity rather than the other way around. They are caught in a mental labyrinth of their own making, scrambling to regain dominance, while your focus on yourself and your truth leaves them powerless. Your independence is the threat, their panic is the proof, and their inner calculations expose what they truly fear. Not moral consequences, not your pain, but the unraveling of their carefully constructed image. Understanding this transforms the dynamic. The narcissist's strategy becomes transparent, and their control over you dissolves because they cannot manipulate what they cannot touch. The narcissist's deepest fear after betrayal isn't about morality or fairness, it's about exposure. The moment they've crossed a line, a quiet alarm goes off inside them. They know they have taken a risk, and the higher the risk, the greater the panic. This fear is not visible on the surface. It is subtle, often masked by charm, arrogance, or false calm. Inside, however, their mind is spinning at full speed. They are calculating consequences, imagining every scenario in which their deception could be revealed, and frantically asking themselves how to regain control. Every detail you notice, every reaction you display becomes a clue in their mental analysis. They are obsessed with appearances because their identity is constructed entirely around perception. If anyone sees the cracks, their whole world feels threatened. This is why they can betray without remorse. Their actions are never about the pain they inflict, but about asserting control, managing risk, and protecting their image. They rationalize, excuse, and justify immediately, constructing elaborate mental stories to preserve their self-image. They may apologize, they may charm, they may attempt to manipulate, but underneath all of it, there is only fear, the fear of being seen as flawed, vulnerable, or caught. Your clarity and calmness are devastating to them because it strips away the tools they rely on to maintain control. The very boundaries you set and the awareness you hold feed their panic, exposing the fragility behind the confident mask. And while they may appear untouchable externally, internally they are scrambling to navigate a reality they cannot dominate. Understanding this changes everything. Their fear is a reflection of their insecurity, not your value. It is proof that their power is fragile and that your independence, calm, and clarity are the tools that render them powerless. By recognizing the fear behind their betrayal, you reclaim the narrative, leaving them to wrestle with the chaos they created while you remain grounded, strong, and untouchable. The narcissist rarely experiences guilt the way most people do. When they betray someone, the emotion that arises is not remorse, it is fear. Not fear of punishment, not fear of justice, but fear of being exposed, fear of losing control, fear of the carefully constructed image they rely on for identity. They immediately begin to rationalize their actions, spinning excuses and narratives that make the betrayal appear justified, necessary, or harmless. Inside, their mind is racing, analyzing your reactions like data points. Did they notice? Could anyone else notice? How do I fix this without losing face? Every glance, every word, every subtle cue you display becomes part of their calculation. They are not considering your pain, they are considering risk. This is why their outward behavior can seem calm, even charming. They have perfected the art of masking the chaos within. They live in a constant state of vigilance, measuring every step to ensure they remain untouchable. Your emotions, your awareness, your boundaries. These are not just things they ignore. These are threats to be assessed, managed, and manipulated. Their apologies, their attempts at reconciliation, their apparent concern, none of it is genuine. It is all strategic, designed to contain the panic, regain control, and protect their fragile sense of self. Understanding this is liberating because it reframes the betrayal. It was never about your value or worth, but about their fear and insecurity. Your calm, your clarity, your refusal to react as expected, these strip them of the control they crave. The more you remain grounded, the more their inner panic intensifies, revealing the truth. Their sense of power exists only in the perception of dominance, and your independence is proof that they can be unsettled, exposed, and ultimately powerless. Hearing what they truly feel, the fear, the calculation, the panic, doesn't inspire pity. It inspires freedom, clarity, and control over the narrative that once trapped you. The most important thing to understand about a narcissist after they betray you is that their dominant emotion is not guilt or regret. It's fear, and it is deeply self-centered. They are terrified of exposure, of losing control, and of having their carefully constructed image shattered. Inside, their mind is a whirlwind of calculations, rationalizations, and contingency plans. They ask themselves constantly, what did they notice? How do I control this? How do I manipulate the narrative to stay untouchable? Every reaction you show, every sign of awareness or boundary is processed as a potential threat. Your pain is not real to them. It is a signal, a piece of data to analyze, and an opportunity to strategize. That is why their outward calm, their charm, or even their hollow apologies can feel so disorienting. Their inner panic is hidden behind a mask of control. They don't feel remorse for the hurt they've caused. They feel panic at the possibility that the truth will come out and their identity will be questioned. Recognizing this is powerful because it reframes the situation. Their